we're hearing that another team could be the Indiana Pacers. Now, the Indiana Pacers are interested in Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga. So, with that being said, if the Pacers are the new team, we've heard the Raptors have been discussing with the Golden State Warriors for Pascal Siakam. What could Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga lead to if you're the Warriors? Okay, who could the Warriors want from the Indiana Pacers if they're looking to get a power forward help like Pascal Siakam from the Raptors, and they're already discussing Jonathan Kuminga in a trade with him? So let's talk here, Indiana Pacers. If you're a Pacers fan or Warriors fan, who do you think will be traded in a Jonathan Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins deal to Indiana? So Wiggins and Kuminga put together brings you just to $30 million. It's 30.3, we'll say 30.4, just under. And at 30.4, you hypothetically could bring in multiple players. I'm thinking right here, the dream scenario would be they be going for someone like Miles Turner. I don't think that's happening. I think it's a deal for Bruce Brown and or TJ McConnell, or a deal where you see a guy. I mean, I think they want established players. If it's not Bruce Brown, it has to be if they might want more shooting help. So could it be Buddy Hield, TJ McConnell, and somebody along the lines of, that's where you go down this roster. You're like, I don't think Jalen Smith and Jordan Nwora. So I think the only players of interest for the Golden State Warriors on the Indiana Pacers roster is Bruce Brown, Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, TJ McConnell. And a deal that revolves around Jonathan Kuminga and Mr. Andrew Wiggins is $30 million. And you can only take one of Bruce Brown, Miles Turner, Buddy Hield packaged with TJ McConnell. Only one of those guys could be packaged with TJ. That would be under the $30 million that you could. Now, if they want to bring in, let's say package Chris Paul, Andrew Wiggins, and Jonathan Kuminga, now that brings you to $60 million, and you could hypothetically trade for Bruce Brown, Miles Turner, and Buddy Hield, which would be the most insane trade I've ever seen. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you guys expect from this situation?
Rumor has it, ooh. Rumor has it, ooh. Buddy Hield's on the trade block. Feels like we've known for a while that Buddy Hield could be traded. But at this point, Buddy Hield's one of the greatest shooters in the world. So far this season, Buddy Hield's averaging 13 points, which is down from 17. But he's also playing his least amount of minutes since 2017-2018, which was his third season. And that's also when he averaged like 13 points a night. He's shooting 44% from the field, 38 from 3, which is down from his career 40%. 3.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. He's a guy who has career averages of 30 minutes a night, 16 points, 43.4% from the field, 40% from 3, 4.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists a game. What do you get with Buddy Hield? You get the 6'5", natural-born firepower sniper. Literally one of the most reliable three-point shooters in the league. Will not ever be shook. His confidence is always there. He can finish in transition. He can, put the rock on the floor and be a secondary playmaker. He's not the best at getting his own shot, but he's an Iron Man, barely misses games, and the only problem with him is he's a liability on defense. But a team that needs three-point shooting, okay, like if you look at team stats, the NBA team three-point percentage, I want to say the worst teams in the league right now are, let's see, worst three-point shooting teams in the league currently. San Antonio Spurs could use a Buddy Hield. Detroit Pistons, Utah Jazz, Los Angeles Lakers, Washington Wizards, Portland Trailblazers, Cleveland Cavaliers, Chicago Bulls, Atlanta Hawks, Brooklyn Nets. Really, the Hawks and the Nets, probably not, but the Bulls could use Buddy Hield, and they could give up like Ayo DeSumo and Pat Will, and they probably could get him, in my opinion. Cleveland would love him, okay, and they would. That one's a little tougher, a little harder to get, but Utah, they have the pieces to do it. The Pistons have the pieces. The Spurs, those are all teams that I think could easily eat that deal. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yo, what's going on, guys? And today we're talking about Michael Scotto's report about Buddy Hield and TJ McConnell. So what we're hearing is similar to when Miles Turner was entering a contract season and was coveted by teams. The Indiana Pacers wanted to keep him, and similarly, they want to keep Buddy Hield, and they have an extremely high asking price for teams interested in him. 5 NBA executives who spoke with Hoops Hype said it would take a first-round pick and a rotational player for Buddy Hield. If the player is someone Indiana likes, the pick doesn't have to be as strong and vice versa. Buddy Hield's on an expiring $19.28 million deal and has been on an absolute tear since returning to the starting lineup. PJ point guard TJ McConnell is another league rival executive seeking help in the backcourt. As they monitor that, McConnell's on the books for $8.7 million this season, and $5.5 million of his $9.3 million contract is guaranteed next year, and he's a team that the Suns really want. Buddy Hield on the year is averaging 13.5 points, 45% for the field, 40% from three rebounds, 3 assists a game. All right. And over the last 5 days, 5 games, he's been absolutely closer to a 20-point scorer. While TJ McConnell this year, who TJ we will admit over the last few seasons hasn't, he's missed a handful of games every year. And on the year, he's playing only 14 minutes a night, just under 7 points, 53% from the field. 3-point shot's terrible. It's not terrible, but he's never taken a high volume of them. 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and just under a steal a night. He's still a valuable player, and if you guys are looking for depth, I think you see the Suns going for TJ McConnell or a contending team. I just can't see a team like a young, maybe the Spurs. Maybe the Spurs go out and get themselves Mr. TJ McConnell. I think a lot of teams should be calling up about Buddy Hield. I think Buddy Hield is a good guy for a contending team. I think that just all comes down to if you're willing to give up the assets, if you feel like he's going to push you over to the edge for a championship, then yeah, it's worth it. Am I wrong? Because that's what I would think a championship is worth, is if you give up a first player, fuck them picks, right? Fuck them picks. That's the whole philosophy of the Los Angeles Rams. Them picks don't matter. So, again, it's to each their own. But I am a big fan of the whole idea, hey, okay. The Indiana Pacers could trade Buddy Hield and TJ McConnell. They could. They probably might. But they probably won't at the same time. So we don't really know. But that's basically going to be it. We'll have a few more videos come out later once we finish everything else. It's the New Orleans. Next is Kyra Lewis. But yeah, I think that's where I'll leave this at. Thank you for watching. If you made it to the end, hit that like and subscribe button. It means the world for your support.
Yo, what's going on, guys? And we got some Buddy Hield news. So everyone, like myself, just thinks it's foregone conclusion. That was weird. A foregone conclusion. And I also just said and I never say because I pride myself on being a pretty good speaker. But Buddy Hield, we all thought, is a foregone conclusion that he would be going to the Dallas Mavericks. It just makes sense. Tim Hardaway Jr. with a lottery protected first round pick way down the road because of the salary and the additional year on Tim Hardaway Jr.'s contract and the lack of second round picks that I believe the Mavericks have. To facilitate the trade for Buddy Hield, then Buddy Hield resigns on a 4-year, $60 million deal that pays him $15 million annually. Just made sense for everyone involved. But now, Grant Afseth, hopefully I said that correctly, ladies and gentlemen, because I do not want to ever mispronounce it. My name is Ciro Aseo de Coq. I don't expect people to be able to say my name. Okay, Americans call me Ciro. All right, but the Dallas Mavericks, according to Grant Afseth, are among the teams interested in pursuing Buddy Hield in a trade with the Indiana Pacers, according to Mark Stein of the Stein Line. Grant Afseth works for the Hoop Analysts Net, and he also works for Dallas Mavericks basketball for, I guess it's Fan Nation. But supposedly there is no traction in any talks involving the Mavericks. The Pacers are not inclined to make a trade involving Tim Hardaway Jr., and that the Pacers will likely want a sweetener in any trade involving Hield, with possibility of acquiring a first-round pick and part of the return. So supposedly the sweetener for a first-round pick and Tim Hardaway Jr. is there, but supposedly the Pacers are not inclined to make a trade involving Tim Hardaway Jr. Could it be for Richaun Holmes? Maybe, but it goes to show that if it does involve Tim Hardaway Jr., it's going to have to involve a first-round pick. That's no if, buts, or ands. That's just looking like it will be a foregone conclusion. So for me, I want to hear your guys' opinions. What do you guys think is going to happen here and why? I'm definitely curious to see if we will see our man, you know, Mr. Buddy Hield on the team, because look, it makes sense that they are setting up these preliminary discussion points like, hey, if it is Tim Hardaway Jr., we want it to be a bit, structured a little different than you guys are assuming. It's not going to be as easy as Tim Hardaway Jr., a bunch of second round picks, or Tim Hardaway Jr., and, a heavily protected pick. Maybe we want it to be top 5 pick, and I don't argue. This is kind of the diplomacy that goes into a NBA trade. And if you look at the Dallas Mavericks and you're like, okay, maybe can they do a different trade? Can they facilitate this without Tim Hardaway Jr.? Yes, it would have to be Rashawn Holmes or Maxi Kleber. I do not believe Maxi Kleber would be the guy. They really like him. He's a good defender. Now, Rashawn Holmes would have to be the guy, and then they would have to probably, at that point, use... I don't even know who else could be thrown into this because a lot of their roster is recently signed. So in my mind, it has to be around Tim Hardaway Jr. unless they are able to facilitate a Tim Hardaway Jr. trade around a 3-team trade where you send Tim Hardaway Jr. to another team. As we know that a few months ago, they were trying to use Tim Hardaway Jr. and JaVale McGee for Bojan Bogdanovic and Killian Hayes. That was a potential trade. So unless they are able to revisit that trade where they send Bojan Bogdanovic to the Pacers and they send Tim Hardaway Jr. and maybe, I don't even know how this would be done if they were trying to facilitate something along those lines, because it just makes my head hurt. But you get the idea that I was trying to make there. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts, but that's it for me.